Hello, Freedom Fighters. Really great to see everyone tonight. I'm very excited to be talking with Adam Albright, our leading expert with buying properties off the plan. And for those that don't know me, my name is Charmaine Adam. I'm one of the head property coaches here at Positive Property. If you can hear us loud and clear, just please type in the chat G to G, good to go. Just let me know that you can hear us loud and clear. If you are watching the live tonight, hashtag live. And if you are watching the replay, hashtag replay. So tonight we're going to talk about all the tips and guides on how to buy properties off the plan, because it's an exciting time in the property game and in buying properties off the plan. A lot of property, we know there's a housing crisis, so there are a lot of properties being built. And today's session is just all about giving you some tips and to answer any questions that you may have about buying properties off the plan. So Adam, anything you want to add?
Good evening. How are you, Charmaine?
Really good, thank you.
Good to see you. How's the new baby going? You going well at home?
Really good. For those that don't know, I've just had a little munchkin for 4 weeks old, and it's really, she's beautiful.
4 weeks.
4 weeks, little Georgina, sleeping well 90% of the time. That 10%, you're kind of like, what's going on tonight? But look, it's been great, and it's good to be back on board with Positive Property. And I guess that's the lifestyle of being able to work from home and still be a mum, and it's really great.
All right. So what's our subject for tonight? Where are we gonna start?
So we've got some. So tonight's all about buying properties off the plan, because as you know, Adam, there is a housing crisis, and it's very hard to get brand new completed built properties. So a lot of investors are looking to buy off the plan. So we've got a few questions. So let me just bring some questions that a few people have asked us. So I guess one of the questions with buying off the plan is, why does it take so long for the land to be ready?
Okay. So the main question was buying off the plan. So you're buying off the plan. You're not buying something that's ready, completed to go now. It's something that you're buying for the future. So a developer may be in the early stages of getting their development approval, applications, quotes for civils, might be in the early stages of getting these done. What the process used to be is not what the process is anymore. It is delayed anywhere from 3 to 18 months, I've heard rumors. So you could put your deposit down now, but not have your piece of property for 18 months' time. The main delays are civil construction in Southeast Queensland, for example, is really busy, can't get anyone. Councils are very slow with applications at the moment because there's so many applications coming through. They're probably the main two reasons I can come up with at the moment.
Fantastic. And those that are listening right now, if you have any questions about buying off the plan, please type them into the chat so that we can assist you and shed some light. But there are some benefits also with house and land as well. So there may be delays in land being registered, but I mean, what's the benefit of having land just in there whilst you're waiting for registration?
So let's just cast out, like all of us have seen what's happened in the property market since COVID started, for example. Let's go back, 4 years, roughly, COVID, 3-4 years. So if you went and bought a house and land package 3-4 years ago and then went to settle it today, you've doubled your money. So if you buy something, for example, today, which may not be ready for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, the property price over the last 4 years of what we've seen happen will go up.
Correct.
So that's the big advantage. So you're putting $1,000 down, maybe 10% on the land component. So let's say your land sits anywhere between $200,000 to $400,000 for a block of land. You're putting between $20,000 and $40,000 deposit in, but then that could then double in 12, 18 months, 2 years' time.
Exactly. And we've got a question here. So buying off the plan, I'm assuming you mean new builds from scratch. Would this be like buying a home and land package?
Yeah, like we just talked about. So if you buy a block of land, you put your deposit down, your land may not be ready for 12 months, 18 months, but you're locking in at today's prices. So back during the later COVID years, so 2021, 22, builders found this new clause in the contract that it was something to do with a national emergency or a worldwide emergency, they could increase the price of their fixed price contracts. A few builders chose to do this only to save their backside, because, for example, a lot of materials went up almost doubled, which means builders' margins weren't enough to cover the price increase, so they had to pass some of those costs on to buyers. So that's what's happened over the years.
Fantastic. And, buying properties that are brand new, there are so many tax benefits. And this is why part of our strategy is to buy properties that are brand new so that we can get those tax benefits and offset that against our income tax. So I guess another question is, as we're kind of mapping out the journey of a house and land package, once the land has settled, like, what do you do next? Like, what is the next step? So you've purchased a house and land package. The land has finally settled. So settlement means entitlements. Is that correct, Adam?
Beg your pardon?
Land settlement means that the land is titled?
Yeah, land is titled. Yeah, so basically, you can't settle on a block of land until you get the title. So once you get when the titles are released, you then settle on the block of land. So then you now own that block of land. You're responsible for that block. So the question was, what's the next stage? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so the land's settled. Okay. What happens next? What's the next part of that house and land package?
So there's two ways to go about this. You can either pay the builder their 5% deposit prior to settlement, and they will start the back end. So soil test, contour, engineering, construction plans, color consultancy, all these things will be started in the background. So once your land's ready to settle, the builder is pretty much ready to lodge for building approvals. Or you can either sit there and wait for the land to title and settle, and then you can pay the builder, and then he will start that process. That process anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks to get a building approval done.
Got it. And then once they've got that building approval, then construction is done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So once you get your building approval done, a normal builder should be on site within 2 to 3 weeks. They should be on site, starting the foundations, starting the site cut, and making sure that site's ready for construction.
Fantastic. And another question, why does it take so long to get building approvals to start construction? Like, what's that about?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on what state you're in. And as I've just mentioned in our last piece, it's when you pay your deposit. So if you chose to not pay the builder any deposit
pre-title,
pre-land settlement, let's call it pre-land settlement, the builder has to then do all this work, soil tests, contours, engineering. All this has to happen after. We're going through a building boom. It's not, you can't just go, hey, I want a soil test tomorrow. You need to book that in. Hey, I need engineering tomorrow. Book that in. Where if all this is done prior to your settlement, then you can then have a big jump start to getting the whole process started.
Fantastic. And don't forget, if you've got any questions about buying off the plan, please let us know. We're here to give you some tips and when buying. I mean, are there any tips as a buyer that you can think of that would help that process along or make that process that little bit easier for the buyer?
Well, pretty much, in my opinion, if the banks will allow it, or if you got the funds to do it, I would always pay the builder their 5% deposit early before settlement, because that allows them to get all these smaller items locked away. So what will happen, you'll settle on that land, you'll be paying interest to hold that land while the builder gains all this information, where if you had all this done when you didn't even own the land, you're 2 months ahead of your interest repayment straight away.
Fantastic. And it also brings that window a bit closer to construction being started.
Completion. But as I said, like, you're paying interest on $200,000, $400,000 block of land for 2 months or 3 months while the builder is getting this information together, where you won't be doing that if you've already got the information sorted out. Fantastic. But again, a lot of people haven't got the 5% for the build as well. A lot of banks won't release the 5% until until the land has settled. So it's a bit of a 50-50
So just
game.
finding that little sweet spot to see what you can do. And if you are in a position to do it, then it's advisable. Then you're shortening your window of when construction can start. Fantastic. And look, when it comes to building the property, I mean, what are the timeframes we're looking at? And, is it 6 months? I remember the rule of thumb was, properties to be built in 6 months. Now I'm seeing all around the 10 months.
And I suppose, again, it also comes back to which state you're building in. I know in WA, there's Positive Property's got quite a few houses under construction. Your build time over there is anywhere from 10 to 12 months. South Australia, your build time's anywhere from sort of South Australia 6 months to 9 months. Queensland, you're sort of sitting around the 6 to 7 months. So it depends on what state you're building in is how long the time frame is to build a house.
Fantastic. And I guess another question, let me just bring up some more questions.
Yeah, sure.
It's good to kind of have a bit of an idea of how the buying off the plan actually works. I mean, what about price increases?
Sorry?
What about price increases?
I've been sick, so you can probably hear it in my voice, and through my random coughs, it just comes up every now and again. So it's okay. So price increases from the build perspective is, I guess, what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm guessing you from the build perspective. Okay. There's a lot of
concern.
The prices are going to continually go up, and there's always that concern that around prices continuing.
Yeah. So most builders who we deal with haven't passed that price increase on. But there's, as I think we touched a little bit earlier, there are builders who can't afford to carry that sort of increase. So some builders might put the price up $20,000-$30,000 just to maintain their presence in the market, because you don't want. I think George used that famous saying of something about an airplane taking off, and you'd rather the airplane take off and be safe than the airplane taking off and not be safe, as in spending time on the tarmac.
Correct.
That's like being with a house builder. You'd rather be with a house builder who finishes your house and does not go bankrupt halfway through, or takes 2 or 3 years to finish it and then doesn't quite finish either. So at the end of the day, if it costs you a little bit of extra, but you've made, let's say you bought the land at 200, the land's now worth 300. The build cost has gone up 30. You're still up $70,000.
Yeah.
And it means your builder won't go bankrupt. And, we've been positive. We've been doing this for well over 10 years. Touch wood, we've had no builders go under, because we choose the right builders who make the right decisions throughout their process. Like, because we're a volume company, these guys don't come to us lighthearted and say, hey, we need to just take money off you for no reason. They come to us and say, guys, we need this to make our company viable, because you don't want a company who's not viable and then halfway through your build they shut down.
And it's really good that you mentioned that, because it's really important as an investor that you do your due diligence on builders and developers, because there has been a lot of interesting media releases of what's been happening with purchase properties, buying off the plan and so forth. And what's the kind of process or what are you looking for in a developer and a builder that helps you feel that confidence and that safety that this is the right opportunity and the right property and the right builder and developer for my investment?
Well, it's a good question, but we sort of rest on our, like, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So I rely on people who I've been in business with for the last 20 odd years. So you see all these new companies come on board, and all these new people come on, and what they do is, we in the industry, we call it a race to the bottom. So everyone's racing to get the cheapest price. Everyone's just like, oh, I'm going to undercut you. I'm going to undercut you. Where at the end of the day, it's a race to the bottom. You're all going to go bankrupt, guys. Where if you go with someone who's a little bit more expensive, a solid business with a solid business model, you know that the house is going to be built with quality, and they won't go bankrupt. And that's what everyone's scared of at the moment. People are scared of builders going bankrupt. The country's got a housing shortage, and I can tell you why, because people are too scared to build. But back when I started, people would love to buy a house and land package. Now they're all too concerned that any builder they choose will go bankrupt. It's not the case. If you choose the right builder,
you're fine.
You should be fine.
Tell us a bit about HIA.
Careful what your words we use there. You should be fine.
Tell us a bit about the HIA and how they kind of come into the play of properties and builds.
That's almost like an illegal subject at the moment. I don't know if you've been watching A Current Affair and Channel 9 News. The HIA is a governing body who's there to protect the end user. There's also every house that's built, there's an insurance policy which covers you, which is fine. You're covered by insurance. So yeah, I'm not really going to touch much on HIA.
Fantastic. And look, well, I'm just conscious we do have to leave very shortly to go into our members coaching group shortly. So if you do have any questions, please bring them in before we go. Whilst building, do you need to have insurance on the land, or do you need insurance at all?
Well, it depends. Once again, this one's almost off the record. It's up to you. So the only reason you need to have insurance on the land is if some kid or someone comes onto your land, breaks their leg, then yes, they can sue you. But the chance of someone coming onto your block of land, falling over, breaking their leg, I would say would be pretty low. So if you ask me if I would do it, maybe not. But so the question is, you don't have to have it.
No. But it's up to you whether you feel it's important to have it.
Important to you, yeah, that's right. If you've got, for example, you're at the end of a cul-de-sac, you've got heaps of kids who play basketball on your block of land every Friday afternoon, I would potentially have it. But if you're in the middle of a development site, the chances of having someone come on there, break their leg, and then decide to actually sue you, we're not quite America yet. I wouldn't be wasting my money on insurance on a block of land. But mind you, I have never checked the price. It might be very cheap to have insurance on a block of land.
Got it. And we've got a follow-up question for that one, which is, so really it's liability insurance more.
Yeah. Spot on. Exactly, that's what it is. Because what else are you insuring? Like, you can't start a fire on it. You can't steal it. You can't break it. The only insurance you're really getting is to make sure that there's no one hurts themselves on your block and then comes and sues you. But yeah, I've never heard of anyone. I haven't. I've never heard of anyone being sued for hurting themselves on a vacant block of land.
So I'm going to go 2 more questions before we wrap up, Adam, and then we'll get going to our private members group. Look, give us a tip. If something was to go wrong with your build, who would you contact? Where would you go?
Okay, so just slow the question down. So if you're building a house and land package, you got an issue. Is that what you're saying? Like, you're asking why?
Who would you contact for assistance or help?
If you're going through Positive Property?
Not through Positive Property. I'm kind of giving it more generalized tips for the public, because there are a lot of viewers here that might be doing this outside of Positive Property. If you were with Positive Property, you would have all of
you have the circle of safety. Okay, so if you were building a house through, let's say, Metricon, let's bring up a name. I'm thinking of a big company. Let's say Metricon. So you should have a client liaison officer or manager to look after your file. So you would then go to that particular person and say, hey, I've got an issue with A, B, and C, and then hopefully they can go and get it sorted out for you.
Fantastic. And we've got one more last question before we move on to our next group. If something happens with an accident with contractors, will they have their own insurance for that?
100%.
Someone gets hurt on machinery or walking.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you, Mr. Facebook or Mr. or Mrs. Facebook user.
So we can't see your username, so we're just going to call you beautiful person.
Thank you, Kirst. So what that comes down to is that basically once you start building a house, technically the builder takes over your block of land. So yes, you still own it, but you cannot even, according to the contract, you cannot enter that property without approval from the builder. So the builder has full insurance, full public liability, full everything on your block of land. And even yourself as the owner is not allowed to enter that block of land or enter your house that's being built without approval from the builder. So you just wipe your hands clean and go, right, you've handed it over to the builder, and then the builder, it's a thing at the end called a handover. They will then hand the property back to you once they've completed their construction period.
Fantastic. And we've got another beautiful Facebook. Thank you. Haha. Fantastic. So look, before we go, Adam, is there any other tips that you would recommend? So obviously making sure that you've done your due diligence on the builder and the developer, always checking through your contracts, being very clear of your contracts and your obligations. Anything else that you would add as a one last tip before we leave tonight's session?
As in, like, the building side, like, I'd just be real careful. No, I tell you, yeah. So the main thing that I would look at is be careful on. There's a couple of things. The items that are included in your contract, make sure you've got them all ticked off. Just remember, a lot of builders don't include fencing, landscaping, driveway, letterbox, a small thing like a TV antenna booster, blinds. Like all these small items you don't think about, but then when you get your house handed over, you're like, oh shit, I need to spend money on, $10, $15, $20,000 extra once the house is completed. So I'd be looking at those sort of things. And part B, there's a clause called liquidated damage or delayed payments. Most HIA building contracts has it down, I think it's $250 per week. Where if you negotiate with your builder, you can put that up to $500 a week, $750 a week. Depends on the value of the contract, even $1,000 a week. I would be looking at putting your liquidated damages or delay. So every day the house is not built after the time, I would put that in at a higher price. So you've at least covered your mortgage for the land while the builder has delayed the build.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. That's a great little hack right there.
Yeah, that's a real good one.
Fantastic. So where
keep that between you and me, please.
Fantastic. Look, Adam, it's always a pleasure to have you on and sharing your expertise when it comes to building and developing properties. We've got a beautiful comment here. Lots of value, guys. Appreciate the explanations on many questions. So freedom fighters, have a great Thursday night. Look forward to our next session next week. And Adam, I'll see you in the next group.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.